Hello everyone and welcome to Rollin'-ish. I'm Matt, and in today's video, we're taking a retrospective look back at Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. With the recent release of the 2024 Player's Handbook, we've been looking back at the 2014 Player's Handbook, along with two supplemental guides that came out shortly thereafter, Xanathar's Guide to Everything and Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. If you haven't done so already, be sure to check out our class playlist. There you're going to find the Intro to video for all the classes and the features that you get through levels 1 through 20, as well as a breakdown of all the subclasses offered by the 2014 Player's Handbook. There are also videos that start with the tag XGtE for Xanathar's Guide to Everything. In those videos, we break down the subclasses offered by that supplement. Just like how this video starts with TCoE for Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, we're looking at the subclasses for all the classes that came out with that supplement. So we can compare to the 2024 Player's Handbook and see what did we get, what did we lose. Maybe we're going to take a little bit from here and incorporate it into our game because we can do that. Today we're looking at Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, specifically the Sorcerer subclasses for the Aberrant Mind and the Clockwork Soul. For the Aberrant Mind, this is your way of playing a Psi Sorcerer. Kind of like how we got the Psi Fighter subclass and the Soul Knife Rogue subclass for Fighter and Rogue. This is the Sorcerer's version of that, if you will. With this subclass, you can touch other minds around you or alter the world around you using psionic ability. Was this some sort of alien power that you got? And if not, how did you get this power? Did it develop over time? These are some questions you should ask yourself as you're building this into your background. As far as the features of the Aberrant Mind go, if you are having trouble coming up with your own origin, you can simply roll a d6 on this table and see what the dice give you. I rolled a 3. You once suffered the dominating powers of an aboleth, leaving a psychic splinter in your mind. Maybe that's how your powers nurtured themselves. What I like about this table is, if you struggle creatively, and it's okay if you do, tables like this exist to help get the creative juices flowing. You can roll randomly or choose one you like, or maybe have them influence something that you want to tweak and make your own. When you choose this subclass at first level for sorcerers, you get psionic spells. This is going to give you access to psionic ability type spells at certain levels. And while we're not going to review them all, I am going to highlight some of my favorites. First level, you get Arms of Hadar, Dissonant Whispers, and Mind Sliver. Dissonant Whispers might be my favorite one out of these three. It is a range of 60 feet. And basically you are forcing your target to make a wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, they're going to take 3d6 psychic damage and must immediately use its reaction, if available, to move as far away as its speed allows from you. The creature doesn't move into obviously dangerous ground, such as a fire or in a pit, but on a successful save, the target is going to take half that damage and doesn't have to move away. A deafened creature automatically succeeds on the saving throw because they don't hear the whispers. At higher levels, when you use a spell slot of second or higher, you can increase the damage by 1d6 for each slot above first. I love this. 3d6 at first level is a good amount of damage, and psychic damage. If you're using this at first level, odds are you're coming across a creature that probably doesn't have any defenses against psychic damage, therefore you're going to maximize your damage output. As you use this spell when you are of a higher level, you might run into that, but that's okay. You're also going to get access to at third level, to calm emotions and detect thoughts. Detect thoughts is cool because you can kind of get an immediate response without your target knowing. And that is what we call surface thoughts. So if you're watching play streams out there and you hear a DM say, you get the surface thoughts. This is what the person is immediately thinking. This is a great spell to use when you're interrogating someone or you're trying to get information and maybe you've struck a chord or have crossed some kind of boundary in the conversation that might raise the stakes. Detecting thoughts is a great way or a great time to use that spell to get their reaction without them knowing about it. You could easily pick up on a lie this way. You could probe further into their mind to look for something specific, but if they fail the saving throw, which is a wisdom save, whatever you find as you search their thoughts, once you're done, they're going to know that you did that, and that could cause some trouble. At fifth level, you get Hunger of Hadar and Sending. Sending is a great telepathic message. Most famously used by Jester in Campaign 2 of Critical Role, keeping in mind that you only have a certain amount of words, 25 words or less, to convey your message, and the target you are sending to can respond in like manner, 25 words or less. So somebody at the table better be counting. At 7th level, you get Eovard's Black Tentacles and Summon Aberration. Eovard's Black Tentacles was actually featured in Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves, the movie, so you might have caught it there. It is a concentration spell lasting a minute. The range is 90 feet, but it creates a 20-foot cube of essentially difficult terrain of tentacles that fill that space and try to grab and restrain. When a creature enters the affected area for the first time or starts its turn there, the creature must succeed on a dexterity saving throw or take 3d6 bludgeoning damage and be restrained by the tentacles until the spell ends. A creature that starts its turn in the area and is already restrained by the tentacles takes 3d6 bludgeoning damage as well, as these tentacles are going to whip around and try and beat you. A creature restrained by these tentacles can use its action to make a strength or dex check, its choice, against your spell save DC to try to free itself. If they succeed, they're free. And at 9th level, you get access to Rari's Telepathic Bond and the Telekinesis spell. Rari's Telepathic Bond lasts for an hour, does not require concentration, creates a 30-foot range. It's a telepathic link among you and 8 willing creatures of your choice within that range. Psychically linking each creature to the others. Creatures with an intelligence scores of 2 or less are not affected, but essentially you can communicate with each other even if you don't have a common language. The communication is possible over any distance, though it can't extend to other planes of existence. So, this is a great spell. It's kind of like having earpiece and you guys are communicating with your thoughts. It's a great use to do right before you enter a known combat situation, so you could strategize without your enemies hearing what your plans are. Okay, also at 1st level, you get Telepathic Speech. As a bonus action, choose one creature you can see within 30 feet of you. You and the chosen creature can speak telepathically with each other, while the two of you are within a number of miles of each other equal to your charisma modifier. To understand each other, you must speak mentally in a language the other knows. The telepathic connection lasts for a number of minutes equal to your sorcerer level. It ends early if you're incapacitated or die, or you use this ability to form a connection with a different creature. So this is a great way to telepathically communicate with one person over a distance. So if you do end up splitting the party, let's say in a shopping circumstance, it is a good way to say, hey, I need you and your people to meet us here. So if your party splits up into 2 different groups, let's say, this is a great way to utilize this feature and get everybody back together. At 6th level, you get Psionic Sorcery. When you cast any spell of 1st level or higher from your Psionic Spells feature, you can cast it by expending a spell slot as normal, or by spending a number of sorcery points equal to the spell's level. If you cast the spell using sorcery points, it requires no verbal or somatic components, and it requires no material components unless they are consumed by the spell. This is great because it saves you spell slots. It's a great use of sorcery points without needing to use those components. So if you are restrained or grappled in some way, you can't really do the somatics, or maybe you're silenced and you can't use the verbal somatics there, this is a way to still pull your spells off. Psionic Sorcery. Great feature. 6th level, you also get Psionic Defenses. You regain resistance to psychic damage, and you advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened. Goes with the territory. That makes a lot of sense to me. On 14th level, you get Revelation in Flesh. As a bonus action, you can spend 1 or more sorcery points to magically transform your body for 10 minutes. For each sorcery point you spend, you gain 1 of the following benefits of your choice, the effects of which last until the transformation ends. Again, it lasts for 10 minutes. The more sorcery points you spend, the more features you could utilize. For example, you can see any invisible creature within 60 feet of you, provided it isn't behind total cover. Your eyes also turn black or become writhing sensory tendrils. Ew. Ew. I picture like coming out of your eyes. That's kind of messed up. You gain a flying speed equal to your walking speed, and you can hover. As you fly, your skin glistens with mucus or shines with an otherworldly light. I'm getting creepy vibes from this. Tendrils coming out the eyeballs. You're covered in mucus. This is some eldritch horror right here. You gain a swim speed equal to twice your walking speed, and you can breathe underwater. Moreover, of course, gills grow from your neck or fan out from behind your ears. Your fingers become webbed, or you grow writhing cilia that extend through your clothing. Your body, along with any equipment you are wearing or carrying, becomes slimy and pliable. Of course it does. You can move through any space as narrow as an inch without squeezing, and you can spend 5 feet of movement to escape non-magical restraints or being grappled. So your body just becomes like ooze type. This is gross, but I'm into it. That's great. I think these are good features. As a bonus action, spend one or more. I might need to spend one or more in those situations, right? Depending on what the situation is. You might be restrained and need to see where the hag who restrained you is because she's invisible. I might go 1 and 2, slip out of my restraints, know where she is so I can get the heck out of Dodge. That's what that sounds like. 18th level, you get Warping Implosion. As an action, you can teleport to an unoccupied space you could see within 120 feet. Immediately after you disappear, each creature within 30 feet of the space you left must make a strength saving throw against your spell save DC. On a fail, a creature takes 3d10 force damage and is pulled straight toward the spot you left, ending in an unoccupied space as close to your former space as possible. On a successful save, the creature takes half as much damage and isn't pulled. Once you use this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest, unless you spend 5 sorcery points to use it again. Again, versatility there with the sorcery points. I like that. I like being able to spend my sorcery points to have additional abilities like this. Sorcery points are great for converting spell slots when you're low on spell slots. They're great for, changing the nature of some of your spells to twin them or gain some distance and those types of things. But taking some of your other features and being able to replenish that way is great versatility. And I love that Tasha's did that for a lot of these subclasses that have things like superiority die or key points or sorcery points to be able to spend them on some of your other features outside of just the nature of your spells. That's really, really cool. All right, next, Tasha's gave us the Clockwork Soul. Now, these are going to be cosmic forces or powers from Mechanus. Mechanus is like a realm that is a natural source of origin for a lot of these automatons. So to be able to maybe have a very vivid like dream where you're on a Mechanus type of region or realm like it, where these modrons, you see them being built and constructed in such a way. Maybe that's how you got some of the knowledge. It came to you in a dream-like state. Or maybe your power, while strange to others, is a vast and glorious system to you because of the dream that you had, or however you want to devise how you got this power. Or maybe someone of your lineage entangled with machinations of this type and passed down the knowledge to you through a journal or something like that. Maybe that's how you could work this into your backstory. At first level, when you use Clockwork Soul, you get some spells at certain classes that are shown here in this table that could go quite well with a backstory or a build like this. Again, I'm not going to go over every spell, but I'm going to pick out a few of my favorites. Like Alarm. It's an 8-hour spell. The range is 30 feet. You set an alarm against unwanted intrusion. Choose a door, a window, or an area within range that is no larger than a 20-foot cube. Until the spell ends, an alarm alerts you whenever a tiny or larger creature touches or enters the warded area. When you cast the spell, you designate creatures that won't set off the alarm, like members of your party. You also choose whether the alarm is mental or audible. I like that versatility there. I think the audible alarm would shock the intruder and raise the stakes for them. A mental alarm would alert you without your target knowing, and thus could continue to give you the element of surprise. So there's that. An audible alarm produces the sound of a handbell for 10 seconds within 60 feet. At third level, you get access to Aid and Lesser Restoration. Aid is another spell I'm a big fan of. Range is 30 feet, lasts 8 hours. Essentially choose up to 3 creatures within range. Each target's hit point maximum and current hit points increase by 5 for the duration. At higher levels, when you use a spell slot of 3rd or higher, because this is a 2nd level spell, the hit points of your max and your current will increase by 5 additional points for each spell slot above 3rd. So this is a good way to help heal or help replenish or help bolster. So when you go into a fight, a big fight, and you need to drink a potion or take some healing, you can heal back up to that max as long as you're within the allotted duration. At 5th level, you get Dispel Magic and Protection from Energy. 7th level, Freedom of Movement or Summon Construct. 9th level, Greater Restoration or Wall of Force. Things like Aid, Lesser Restoration, Greater Restoration, these are typically like Cleric or Paladin spells. These would be good to have as a sorcerer if you don't have a Cleric or Paladin in your party, especially Greater Restoration. It's a 5th level spell, so it's pretty strong. Essentially, you touch a creature and imbue them with positive energy. You could reduce exhaustion level by 1 or end one of the following effects by using the spell. Charmed or Petrified. End a curse, including the target's attunement to a cursed magic item. That's big. Any reduction to one of the target's ability scores. There are some that sicken you or shock you or enfeeble you in some way that could affect your ability scores for a certain period of time and reduce them. This would end that effect. Or one effect reducing the target's hit point max. A lot of necrotic dealing creatures will have this effect. Not always, but sometimes they do. So Greater Restoration either reduces exhaustion or one of those effects, and that's always good to have in your party. Clerics, like I said, clerics and paladins usually have that, but if you don't have one of those in your party, this is something you should consider taking. What is your connection to the order in which you get the Clockwork Soul, this order of the Clockwork Soul? Let's roll and see on this table. You could choose one you like or roll randomly. I rolled a 5. Your spellcasting focus temporarily takes the form of a tiny clockwork mechanism. That's cool. So maybe I take it out of my pocket and I wind it up and I set it down and then it goes off. Maybe that's how I'm casting Fireball or something like that. You could think about that. Trinketize it. Just for flavor. Work with your DM. Like, hey, when I go to cast this spell, this is what I'm actually doing. Love it. Do that. Imbue little metallic orbs that tick like bombs and throw them. And have them go off, then have that work that way. Just for flavor, those things like that are cool. At first level, you also get Restore Balance. When a creature you can see within 60 feet of you is about to roll a d20 with advantage or disadvantage, you could use your reaction to prevent the roll from being affected by advantage or disadvantage. You could use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. Pay attention, sorcerers. If the DM is in combat with you in your party, and you hear me say, I'm going to get advantage on that because I'm flanking you, this is your time to step up and use this feature, right? Or you're going to get disadvantage because you're firing a ranged weapon too close to your target. Negate that disadvantage, negate the DM's advantage, bolster your party. This is your way to be a sorcerer as well as a buffer. You got some pretty cool buffing spells for a sorcerer that you normally wouldn't get, and now you've got a really awesome buffer feature that follows your proficiency bonus. So I would definitely be using this in every combat situation because it is clutch. I can't tell you how many times as a DM I roll with advantage and crit, and I do not like to fudge my dice rolls. I love letting the dice tell the story, and having somebody negate this, because I will announce it when I crit, this would be huge. But this is in use when someone is about to roll that. Don't wait until after they've rolled it and you've heard the result. Hey, I'm going to roll that with advantage, or you roll that with disadvantage. You can come in and say, Use it that way. Okay, 6th level, you get Bastion of Law. As an action, you can expend 1 to 5 sorcery points to create a magical ward around yourself or another creature you can see within 30 feet. The ward lasts until you finish a long rest or until you use this feature again. The ward is represented by a number of d8s equal to the number of sorcery points spent to create it. When the warded creature takes damage, it can expend a number of those dice, roll them, and reduce the damage taken by the total rolled on these dice. Beautiful. So if I spend 3 sorcery points, that means I get a pool of 3 d8s to use. Maybe I take damage if my sorcerer wards me with this, and I just took damage. I can negate it. I rolled a total of 8. I can negate 8 points at using 2, and I still have 1 left over for another time. Love it, love it, love it. The ward lasts until you finish a long rest. So no, they can't go to sleep and carry these over. Once you long rest, they go away. So if you're going to give them to somebody, you should give them to somebody knowing that they need to use them. Maybe somebody low on health. Maybe you've got another sorcerer or a warlock or a wizard in your party and they do not have a lot of health. Maybe you do it to them so you can help keep them upright and not on the ground. Trance of Order at 14th level. As a bonus action, you can enter this state for 1 minute. During the duration, attack rolls against you can't benefit from advantage, and whenever you make an attack roll, an ability check, or a saving throw, you can treat a roll of 9 or lower on the d20 as a 10. Okay, it does not say excluding 1s. So as a DM, I would rule that if you rolled a 1, I know a lot of you are going to say, wait, that's an instant failure on an attack roll or an ability check. I know. But since it is not expressly excluded, I would treat that as a chance for you to really benefit from the Trance of Order. Anything 9 and under becomes a 10, then add your modifier. What's your total now? Does it work? Once you use this bonus action, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. unless you spend 5 sorcery points to use it again. That sounds expensive for sorcery points, but if you really think about it, when you really need a hit or you really need to make that saving throw, the ability to use this feature to perhaps turn a miss into a hit or a failure into a success is crucial. It's balanced because you only get to use this bonus action one time unless you spend 5 sorcery points to use it again. It sounds expensive, but that could save you a lot of health, potentially your character's life. I love this feature. I don't think that's too expensive, and I think it's very balanced that it is a one-time bonus action unless you buy it. Love it. 18th level, Clockwork Cavalcade. Let's say that 5 times fast. Clockwork Cavalcade. Clockwork Cavalcade. Clockwork Cavalcade. Clockwork Cavalcade. Clockwork Cavalcade. Is that good? I don't know. As an action, you summon the spirits in a 30-foot cube originating from you. The spirits look like Modrons or other constructs of your choice. These spirits are intangible and invulnerable, and they create the following effects within the cube before vanishing. Remember, it's a 30-foot cube. The spirits restore up to 100 hit points, divided as you choose among any number of creatures of your choice in the cube. Any damaged objects entirely in the cube are repaired instantly. Every spell of 6th level or lower ends on a creature and object of your choice within the cube. I love that. It is like a little sanctuary. Once you use this action, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest, unless you spend 7 sorcery points to use it again. That's fair. Wow. Up to 100 hit points. At 18th level as a sorcerer, you might barely have 100 hit points. So heal you in full or divide that any way I'd like to any of the creatures within my cube. That could really help the party. Fixing damaged objects, ending spell effects. Ooh, that might seem a little OP from a player perspective, but it's 18th level, so I'm good with it. That is a great feature. That might be one of the better features in all the Sorcerer subclasses we've seen from 2014 Player's Handbook, Xanathar's Guide to Everything, Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, which, in my opinion, Clockwork Soul is going to rank probably in the top 5 of the subclasses. That is very cool. Okay, so Tasha's Cauldron of Everything gave us 2 really great choices for subclasses for Sorcerer in the Aberrant Mind and the Clockwork Soul. Very different. If you're into steampunk type of vibes or Jedi type of vibes, consider one of these subclasses and have fun with it. Our next video, we're going to take a look at the Warlock subclasses offered by Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, or the patrons that will be offering up power in this book. Until then, keep rolling those dice and we'll see you at the table.